Namaste and welcome to the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Gia-Raquel Rose, owner of Airs Above Yoga, and you are listening to Above the Ground podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, our network is going into its 15th year and is listened to in over 30 countries. I want to personally thank you for giving me the gift of your time. It is my honor to hold space with you. And today we are in for an awesome treat because a very dear friend of mine, Miss Em McCollum, is here to join us and tell us all about her amazing journey and her wonderful business that is gaining a lot of traction in the new year. And I would love to hear everything about your journey, how you came to it, and how you basically have followed your bliss at life.
Wow. Thank you so much. That could be a very long conversation, but thank you so much for having me on today. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Um, so, uh, I guess, so I have a flower shop, Flowers by the River in California, and that's a very new venture. It started with our flower farm. Um, and we've been growing flowers for since Finn was born
Yes.
for 5 years, because before that we were a vegetable farm, for well since college, and then I did a couple of internships at different farms, but started my own in 2012 in my parents' backyard, and it in Mendham. And like, are you gonna, like, do I just keep talking, or should
Yes.
I just
Yes.
keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
Um,
you're good. You're good.
okay. Yeah, so I started the farm in my parents' backyard in Mendham, and like Mendham, like 2 acre zoning, like not like the farm part of Mendham, like in a neighborhood. So
Residential. Yeah.
yes, very residential.
Yes.
And, I think kind of the talk of the neighborhood, because, and I still to this day can't really believe that my parents went for this, where like I came in and I was like, I think I'm going to start my own farm. And they were like, where? And I'm like, I'm thinking here. And
Right
they're like,
back there.
yeah. Like, and they were like, I mean, they didn't really even hesitate. They just said, okay. What do you need? What are you gonna do? Like, how's this gonna work? And so I think within a couple of months, my dad and I went and got some goats. I didn't drive at this time either. So I didn't even
Oh,
know
wow.
I didn't have a license. So yeah, I got my dad to drive,
That's
um,
awesome.
me to get my first three goats, and and my cousin helped actually get the igloo in his truck. And thus began my farm, with my goats. And I built a small hoop house with my sister. Um, and so she was home from a semester at school. And so we were calling it our semester abroad at home.
I love
Um,
that.
yes, because so we both found ourselves there in our 20s. And both of our parents were obviously working, so it was kind of us hanging out a lot. And so wrangled her into a lot of these activities, like, and she like not she the farm thing is not my sister's, like the two of my sisters at least.
Yeah.
But on that side. And so, I'll never forget her out there holding up the galvanized hoops, like
Yeah.
in her Uggs and her like her sweater and her little scarf.
I'm
Um
picturing a Lululemon vibe.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
total.
And then she helped me, like, with birthing our first goats. So
Oh,
yeah, it was in the winter time. It was actually like the first weekend in March. So kind of this time of year, it was
yep.
snowing. I was so worried about them that I moved them into my parents' garage.
Oh,
And I was sleeping in the basement that was like connected to the garage. So like I was pretty much sleeping with my goats. And so yes, I wrangled Becca into helping me help the mom birth a few.
yeah. Yeah.
And So it was just a very interesting time to like reconnect with my sister and like also my parents and kind of bring them all into this agriculture endeavor with me that I don't think any of us saw happening ever.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us to the question of surrender. Like, how did we get to that point? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's interesting when you told me that that was kind of your theme, I started thinking about when did that happen? Like, when was the beginning of that transition? And I was born on a farm in Michigan, like
Okay.
and in a tiny, tiny town that we were related to most everybody. And it was right on the water. And so my dad had this, idea of, because he was an environmental journalist and kind of a hippie and lived on communes. And so like he was gonna, get back to the earth,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, the whole kind of pastoral dream,
Yep.
and it just failed miserably. It just was not it like he was from like New Jersey and he didn't have a license and like you had to know how to use heavy machinery
Right.
and so like and the only job he could get was like construction work. And so um and my mom, my birth mom, she's from there and she was like the beauty queen and everyone wanted to marry her. And so when she came home with this hippie who like didn't know anything about farming, they all made
Right.
fun of him. And so
Oh,
it was kind of doomed from the beginning, like there was just no way for them to work that out. So they ended up divorced very early on. But I think that those early memories, like, that was like the essential self that's always
right.
been.
Yeah.
Um, but then like I forgot about it because you move on in life. And
Life. Yeah, because
yes.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because life. And
100%.
then you go to Mendham High School and you're like Lululemon and I'm gonna get into the best college I can possibly get into and I'm gonna be, the top 10% of my class and that's all that matters.
Right.
Um, and so you get wrapped up in that, but I had no idea of like the essential self or like it was just all so curated, it was a veneer, right?
I love that word. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, that is nailed it.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, like, and it was all so like, and I'm gonna have pink and black for my bedroom and this and that, and I'm gonna go to Emory and I'm gonna wear my Emory sweater because I'm so proud that I'm gonna go to Emory. And then I got to Emory and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? And so then it was my, quarter life crisis. And I was like immobilized by I have no idea what I want to do. I have no idea who I am. I have none of it. And I like it was paralysis.
Yeah.
So I came home from memory. And yeah, and so then I ended up hitchhiking across the United States, and I ended up doing a lot of music festivals and doing the whole shebang, all of it, the whole shoot and match.
Yep. The whole scene. Yep.
I experienced it all, and ended up in Knoxville. And so I got back into college because I had a very lovely lady who was in my life, and she was like, Emily, I think you should go back to college. And I was like, I don't have any other better ideas, so that's a good idea. And so I did, and I needed a job, so I worked on the agricultural extension of the
Nice.
university. And it was merely just like I needed a job
Right.
and it was like on an organic farm. And I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And that was it. I was an English major at the time, but I thought I was gonna like go for a master's in creative writing and then be a professor of creative writing. And that's like really where I saw myself going. But once I got that back into the agriculture and I could see how one could create a career out of it, I was sold on it. And I really just didn't look back after that. I worked there for the rest of college. And then yeah, out of once I graduated, I found a job right back home. And since I've been just following this passion, which is also insane in some ways. I mean, like it's almost impossible to make money, for a young farmer to start to get the land to like
Right.
you really have to have like so much grit and just no, I'm gonna keep persisting.
Yeah.
Mm. And so, I've moved the farm so many times from my parents' backyard to like a wealthy neighbor's backyard in Mendham, then to the Johnsons let us have a piece of their property, and now finally we have our own property. But you know, it's just been a constant like, nope, we're just gonna keep doing it. And so 13 years later, we're making money.
Hey.
Yeah.
Lucky 13, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
female empowerment lumber. I kind of love
Yeah.
that for you. Like, obviously slow going at first, but it snowballed and now
Oh
look,
yeah.
look where we are now.
Exactly.
um yeah, I mean it's I love how dedicated you have been to it. I love kind of how, you circled back around to it and how, it's just again, it's that inner knowledge. And even though you had like all of these other little trajectories that could have gone one way or could have gone another way, you've always, I love that you had the support of your family, that you've had support of like friends and neighbors. And I think that, that's the theme of surrender is also trust. So, like my whole thing, this entire
Yeah.
thing has been like you have to trust your higher self, the universe, so whatever it is that you have to have faith in that, because if you're surrendering to like how am I going to get from point A to point B, and it's through support, like you've had, I'm sure you had some guidance, I'm sure you had people that you were able to talk to, that kind of a thing, and people you were able to lean on to help you get to where you are. But at the end of the day, it's you just constantly figuring it out as you go. I'm assuming you didn't get like a roadmap in agricultural school or your first
No.
job that said, hey, this is what you're going to do, you're going to follow step one, step two, step three, and then these things are going to miraculously fall in your lap. Like were there miracles for you, I suppose, is my question, as you went,
Well,
or like miracle
yes.
adjacent things that like
No,
universe
absolutely.
provided for
Yeah.
you?
I don't want to be too woo-woo about it, but yes.
Oh, be full woo woo, we're gonna go
Oh, okay.
full
All right,
full
we're
woo
gonna do
woo.
it. Okay, so
Get in there.
strap on those grounding shoes. All right, here
Yeah,
we go.
exactly, here we go.
So yes, so when I've been, dynamically pursuing this kind of crazy dream, because it aligned with the essential self, right? And so I was in alignment with who I've always been, and through that, and also, I mean, it's been a lot of hard work. I mean, that's part of it,
Yes, 100, yes,
and it's
yes.
been like a total focus on that. But when you like dynamically pursue something like that, um, it is amazing how things providentially line up. Like the one neighbor who was like, "Oh, well, you can move the farm onto my property if you need land. I have 14 acres. Come here." Or when, I met a lady on a walk, and Claire Bolin, she used to own the bookstore in California.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and she was so lovely, and I'm sure she is. I just haven't seen her in a long time. But she was like, "You should come sell vegetables in Califon by my store." And so I had like, a little folding table and brought it right outside the bookstore. And Patty, the owner of the flower shop, would come and like buy things. And I remember being like kind of nervous. I was like, is she going to be upset that I'm selling flowers right outside her flower shop?
Right, right,
Yeah, and that was like, so that was 8 years ago because it was before JB and I were married. So maybe
right.
even 10 years ago. And now we are in the flower shop. Like now we own the flower shop. So we went from like this little stand outside the bookstore. So I feel like you just keep putting yourself in the position of this is what I'm going to do. And then in my experience, the world has provided. Or like the Johnsons, them, if through a weird connection of one of my friends went on a yoga retreat and then met one of the Johnsons' granddaughters, and then she heard about me, and then we had lunch, and then she was like, how about you move your farm to Bedminster? And I just started dating JB, so like, or I just moved in with JB. So I was like, oh, that would only be 10 minutes from my house. Like that would be
Great.
amazing. Yeah,
Right.
and free rent, and they built me a fence, and it like so there's been so many times. Or the property that so we have 20 we have 16 acres, and then the property next door went up for sale that
Yep.
already had a barn on it, and it had, have you been here, right?
I have, yes, yes.
Yeah.
The one time, yep, for the birthday party, yeah.
Oh, yes, the crawfish boil. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Uh-huh. So yeah, so that went up for sale and we ended up able to purchase it, which has allowed me to have the farm as our own property for the first time.
Yeah,
Um, and that, I mean, with children, that is life-changing because
right.
they can be napping and I can be working, or they can go to sleep and then GB and I can go water. And so, and it, it makes it so much more of a family experience. Like it's not just me
Right.
going. This is a like a family farm. Like people ask me, "Oh, is it a family farm?" I'm like, well, now it is.
Yeah,
know, it's not generational yet, but I hope maybe it will be.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just been amazing looking back how many times Providence has worked in our favor.
Yeah. No, I mean, and like, it started in your parents' backyard. So it is truly a family farm. I mean, even from where it started to where it is now, I mean, the universe has provided in so many ways. And even so, when you made the kind of, I won't say jump, but can you talk a little bit about how the flower shop kind of came? Because that was, from my understanding, kind of like another like kismet. I don't want to say gift from the universe, but like opportunity at least from the universe
Yes.
that like
Yeah.
brought you to, I don't want to say the next level because you were already doing so much, but it kind of, did one of
It made
these, right?
Oh yeah, like because we were always just breaking even. It's
Right.
maybe like some money for ice cream for the kids. But like not really making it's very hard to make money. With flowers, it was a little bit better than produce. We used to have a 50-member CSA, and I mean, I grew hundreds and thousands of pounds of vegetables. But like when you consider how much you were working, it did
Yeah.
not add up.
Right.
So what's amazing about able like this retail space where we're able to sell our flowers, so we have the vertical integration of being our own supply source, so we're able to control, you know,
Yep.
our supply. Um, that has been huge. And like for the first time, we can charge like a market price
Yeah.
versus these are farm stand flowers, they're $10.
Right.
So that has made a huge difference. And so that was also very providential. I'm gonna use that word 1,000 times.
That's okay.
But I needed some help making boutonnieres for a wedding because I had 10 10 groomsmen and then like dads and then we had all the corsages. And so I asked Patty if she could help me because I've known her for a long time. And
Yeah.
so she let us in and she was like, I'm selling. And it was just like it has to be us.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like there's just, and like I was like, I didn't, I look back and I was like, you weren't hesitant though. Like I want to say I was hesitant to ask JB what he thought, but like as soon as I got home, it was like, I think we have to buy the flower shop.
Yeah.
And I think like that night he texted, or no, he might have called Patty and been like, we should talk and like,
Right.
um, so yeah, so that has been amazing. And also, I mean, like to have the support of JB,
Right.
to be that like, it wasn't the next day, it was like a few hours later that
Right.
he called and was willing to, he wanted to get involved and, help.
Yeah.
Um, so, and he's it's so cute. But he has always been like that.
Yeah.
This is Valentine's Day, so I'm gonna get a little gushy.
No,
Um,
do it. I'm gonna go right there with you, but you go first.
yeah, but like that, when it was in my parents' backyard and when we first started dating, and I mean, I was a little insane because, like, if we had a market, like, all the vegetables had to be cut or harvested. And so, but he was very gung ho and he would drive his truck over. So we had like headlights to work by and it was very romantic.
Yes, I love it.
But he's always and like, and then when he was working at Tingley, and the farm had moved for the third time, he would, come home after work and go and help me till the field. now we don't till. We're no till now, but we didn't know better when we were children. So
That's okay. That's
yeah,
yes. We
yes,
always evolve, always
yes.
elevating up, right? Yeah.
We learn and we grow.
Yes.
Now we're much more, we were always a sustainable farm, but we really try to do best practices. Um, Partially because we're stewards of our own land, but also because, I mean, as you learn more, you do better. So,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Of course. At
yeah,
life,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So, but yes, but so to the point that, JB has been such an ally and a cheerleader, even though sometimes he gets a little grumpy about watering at night.
Yeah, I mean, you got to let him have that, though. Like
Yeah,
you can't. Like,
yeah.
it's the big picture, right?
Yes, right.
So as we're going on this like romance, it was flower shop
Right,
Valentine's Day. Like this is a
right.
whole
All
like
right.
we're going in this trajectory,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
we're
for
going.
people
So
that
we'll
are
bring it back to the flower shop. But so yes, so it was a very it so it worked out obviously with Patty, and we had a pretty good relationship with her to begin with. So that also helped.
right,
And she's known how long I've been trying to peddle these vegetables and flowers. So she's seen me with my folding table, and I feel like, she was rooting for the little guy with us,
yeah,
which is very sweet. So, I mean, what fell into our laps was the opportunity to, have a place to sell our flowers, but it also has opened up the avenue to be a community place. And also, I mean, I work with a lovely group of women. I feel so lucky to have them, um, all older than me, all wiser, all with different, like, sorry for the dogs, um, different, either they come, so like Judy comes from the farming background, like
yep,
she had a flower farm. Um, Sonia isn't the most amazing organizer and like, and I needed that because I don't have that
right,
naturally. Um, and Patty owned the store and she still works for us a couple of days a week. So,
nice,
to have that background. And then Barb also, like, she worked for Patty for 7 years before. So,
okay,
it's a great team. And then, you know, what I've really been working on for the last 4 years, since, Finn's, our son Finn, he's 5,
yes,
he has a very rare genetic deletion, called Nicolaides Barrister. So he has seizures and he, he's pretty much nonverbal, sometimes more than not. But so I started working with a group called Co-Home in Morristown,
okay,
um, because they are a neurodivergent housing. And I just had this need to be able to picture what adult life would look like. Because when you have a child with a disability, you have no ability to see the future, which is really hard. So working with them and having them out to the farm, and then like we started a garden over at their house.
oh, that's awesome,
Yeah, it has opened my eyes and like, oh, that's what, young adult life could look like for Finn.
yeah,
It's given us a future for Finn. And I have all these wonderful, colorful people in my life that I would not have without that. But so my dream is to make a community like that around the flower shop.
yeah,
Um, so we've hired our first two young ladies with Down syndrome. They're
yay,
Yeah, yeah. So we have a 21-year-old and about to be 24-year-old, and they are great, great workers and great additions, hilarious additions to our team. And Amelia has been working us for longer, and she is so talented. Like she has the knack, she has the eye, she's more precise than me. Sometimes when I'll put a flower in, she'll like sigh and she'll be like, I mean, she has,
no this way,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
She's like, oh, that's too long. What are you doing? This is not. And she's also our focus cheerleader. Whenever someone's getting off, she'll be like, focus. And it's great.
yeah,
And then Emma Sage is really great. She's more of a people, like she likes doing the register. She's like when
okay,
a
yep,
customer comes in, she's going over there and she's, gonna introduce herself and ask how she can help you.
yeah,
So, everybody has their own facet. Um, and so that has been such a gift to be able to start that. I'm hoping to expand it. Um, and that's another thing where I'm just going to have to, like, I know that this is what I want to do. I've gotten my foot in the door, and I'm just waiting for how do we continue on, and I
Right.
feel like that will come when we're ready.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's very similar, right, to the whole how the process has been for you, right? Like that when you talked about Finn, and thank you for sharing that because I know that's very personal and he's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful child.
Yes.
Both of your children
So handsome.
are so amazing, are so amazing. But that's like not only are you doing all of this amazing work, but you're also a full-time mom. And, on top of, and it is wonderful to be able to have your farm at home and to give them that enriching experience, right? Because a lot of kids don't have access even to farms, right? Let alone being able to live and work on one or, play on one, however you want to say it. But that element of surrender, like not being able, I was just actually having this conversation like a couple days ago, so I love how the universe works, but not being able to see the future, right? And I feel like kind of your whole journey was a little bit that way. Like you didn't know, you just did, and then it unfolded. And I've seen recently, like how that you're on the right path is the path disappears,
The path
right?
appears or
Oh,
disappears.
disappears. Like you know that you're on the right path because you can't see what's coming up.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can't see the next step. And I think that, for everything, I think that's one of the wonderful things about like your story and your journey is that like you have just gone with it, right? Like you have run with it, and each next thing, like, the opportunity has presented itself each time, each way for each thing, even in your home life, right? Like, we were talking about how like the idea of surrender is trusting and hoping that the universe is going to support you. And I'm just curious because as we were going on like the romance theme and the Valentine's Day theme, at what point did I'm curious for myself because I don't actually know the answer to this, even though I've known you guys for a while. Um, how did you and JB like meet and align at like on your, I don't want to say work because it's so much more than that, but on the farm journey? At what point did the universe bring that together for you?
I was just telling this story the other day, and it's pretty funny. That's Vinny. So my sister Abby. So my sisters Abby and Becca, they're twins. I have
Okay.
sisters, but on my dad and stepmom side, they're the two that I like grew up with in Mendham.
Yeah.
Um, and so she came home from the University of Miami, about to graduate, to goats in the basement, hay kind of coming up the stairs, maybe a little bit of goat poopy, um, just a little, like a touch.
Gently covered in fecal matter.
A little bit of, post-birthing material.
Yeah. So hot. Yep.
So, and, and she was horrified. She was so upset because she also had been like more, like I go to University of Miami and I drive a white Lexus, and she was presenting a different facet of our family. Not that that doesn't exist, because like,
Right.
but we just went very opposite 180 directions.
Directions. Yes.
And so she was like, I'm going to have 150 of my closest friends from the University of Miami here to celebrate our graduation. And there's goat poop coming up the stairs. And she was just like, she was breaking out in hives. And she was so mad. And actually, one of her friends, her best friends from college, had come to move in with us this summer. Oh my God. So they just the tears of rage on Abby's face. And she turned to me one day and she was like, when was the last time you put makeup on? Have you seen anybody socially? Have you left the house? Like, what is going on? What are you doing? This is very Grey Gardens. When did we take this turn? And so I guess she was trying to fix me, which I appreciate.
Right. It's coming from a
Um,
place of love. Yeah.
yes. And so she's like, give me your phone. I'm gonna put Tinder on your phone. And so she put Tinder on my phone. I swooped
Swiped, swiped.
left, and there was JB. And
Seriously?
he was my first and only Tinder date. And we went on a walk, and I made homemade peanut butter and jelly with homemade peanuts, or homemade peanut butter and homemade jelly and homemade bread. And we had a little picnic by a little river and or stream. And that was that.
Oh my goodness, Tinder.
Tinder.
I had absolutely I did not know that. That is the greatest. I mean, if for anyone listening to this that doesn't know them, they are the most adorable couple in the entire world. And I like they feel like they've known each other since childhood. So I'm actually this is brand new information for me. And I am like, I honestly kind of thought that you guys grew up, like, I know you're in Mendham, but like not that far away from where we currently are. So, I'm not like, I was expecting you to say, oh, he was like, I met him through my sister. You know what I mean? Something like that there was like a childhood connection because you guys have that you have such a vibe of that, which I think is again like true to the whole like kismet of the universe kind of thing. And so you were basically you had brought your farm like home at the point that you met him.
Yes, so the goats were in the basement, the
Okay.
vegetables were growing outside.
Yep.
Um, and yes, and he came, and I still didn't drive, so I was like, we're gonna go on a walk because I'm not getting in your truck with you because I don't know you. And so we went on a walk and we had our little picnic. And he was like, what are you doing the next day? And with JB, it's just always been, and I don't know that I necessarily have ever had that before where it was just like, and what are you going to do the next day? And what are you going to do the next day? And do you want to move in? And do you want to, like, it was just constantly like, he met me wherever I was, it
Yeah.
was like, okay, and now we're going to take the next step. And like, there was no backwards
Right.
progression,
Yeah.
it's just always been like, of course we're gonna, hello, sir. Hi, Finn, you look very handsome. So yeah, that has been one of the easiest things.
Yeah. And I love that literally as you decided to say, this is what I'm doing. This is the path I'm going to take. I'm going to get goats and I'm going to put them on 2 acres in Mendham in a residential zone with my sister and her Lulu holding up the entire dome of my future business, like family, right?
Yeah.
And then JB came into and I just like I thought that might be the case and I just love that for you because it's like you surrendered to your passion, to your trajectory, to your essential self, to who you really are. And then the universe is like, oh, okay, cool. So we're going to give you the love of your life and we're going to give you 14 acres in Mendham. And then we're going to give you a farm and then we're going to give you a flower shop. And not that you didn't work for all of these things. So I'm not saying in any way that you were just like handed things on a silver platter. I'm not. But it's that like kismet. I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to surrender to that higher, bigger thing than myself or higher self, whatever you want to call it. And I've been supported and provided for and loved through the entire thing. And I think that is the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Well, thank you. I think it's pretty awesome too.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So I
And
know your beautiful son is coming around the corner, right? So I'm
circling.
sure, yes, I'm sure you have so much to get on with, and I want to thank you so much for your time. And would you like to just leave our listeners with any little how to connect with you, how to check out your amazing? I was wanted to talk about your aesthetic, so just for people that are listening, please check her out. She's about to tell you how to. Her aesthetic is awesome. Awesome. It's so unique. It's so beautiful. I completely adore it. So
Oh
would you
my
like
gosh.
to
I'm
tell
blushing. You guys
everyone
can't see it home, but I'm
it's
blushing.
would you
Well,
please
thank you
share
so
with
much.
everyone, yes, how they can connect with you?
So our shop is I feel like an infomercial. Our shop
Yes.
is at 74 Main Street in Califon. We're open Tuesday through Saturday 10 no 11 to 5. And you can find us on Instagram at I have to check because I just changed it. Sorry. At, is it yeah, it's Wild Hill and Flowers by the River because it's
Yep.
both things. And then online our we're just wild no, we're what are we? I'm really good at this.
It's Flowers by the River.
Flowersbytheriver.com. Yeah,
Flowersbytheriver.com.
there you
Yes,
go. All right.
flowersbytheriver.com. Yes.
Thank
And
you.
do you ship outside of New Jersey?
No, no. If
Okay.
no, we like if it's a wedding and we will deliver to like Pennsylvania. We'll,
Yeah.
but that's probably as far
Okay.
as
All
flowers
right.
should
So
go.
similar, close to the tri-state area. But if you are lucky enough to be within the tri-state area or in and around central New Jersey, then it's if you want a truly special aesthetic, M is your girl,
Yes.
100%.
Yes. And we are hosting a lot of events. So yeah, check it
Yes.
out online. We have a bunch of really fun ones coming up with different artists, local artists. So
Yeah, I was checking them out. They look very cool. So I can't wait to come and stop in, and you can see
hey.
my aesthetic pales in comparison to yours.
Oh no, no, no. You're gonna be wonderful. I just know it.
Well, thank you for believing in me. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you so
Oh
much
my
for
goodness. No, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And I just want to say to everyone who's listened to us today, I appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your space with us. And so please feel free to share this with your loved ones. And for more goodness, follow me on all the socials at Above the Ground Podcast or visit my website, airsAboveYoga.com. And as always, please check out all of my other episodes and my amazing sisters at divasthatcare.com. You can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple, or anywhere else you feel guided. Again, my name is Gia-Raquel Rose here with Em McCollum. I am the owner of Airs Above Yoga, and you are listening to Above the Ground Podcast, where every day is a good one.